Coach Callahan, how's Blake Hance been doing?
Well, he's a utility guy that really, shouldn't be out on the edge, but he's really surviving out there, is how I would call it. He's given us good play, especially in the run game, which we obviously love. But in the pass game, he's had his struggles here and there, but I do commend him on a lot of levels, because we've been so shorthanded, and to have him step up and step in at the tackle position, has been huge for us. So, a lot of great things, from that aspect, playing out of position, but, he has been serviceable. He's given us quality reps why Jack has been out, and obviously Hub went to IR. So it's been good. It's been positive from that aspect. So, he continues to get better. He works his butt off every day to try to improve. And, what else can you say? I mean, he's just a really tough, smart, hard-nosed guy that loves football. And he's really done a really good job for a guy that really shouldn't be there. So, a lot of positives from that standpoint.
Okay, so obviously a big week for your two big guys inside. What does it do for a offensive line coach to see his guys rewarded like that?
Well, I'm really happy for him, and I really never paid a lot of attention to the business side of it, but I'm happy to see those guys, get extended. And, they're just really good, solid people and well-deserving. And, the business side is what it is. And hopefully, this will help Batonio not have to do any more commercials, so it's all good. It's all good.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Tom. Mary Kay Cabot is next.
Yeah, Bill, just wondering, can you talk a little bit about this big defensive front that the Patriots are putting out there, and how you think your guys will match up against them?
Yeah, good question. Across the front, they're very multiple. They're going to give you some base looks, which they've gotten backed into now. Looking at the Carolina game, they're jumping back into their old mold of playing the true 3-4. Then they'll jump into a lot of different sub looks. They're going to give you a lot of different variation, when they jump into that package. And there's a lot of movement associated with these fronts. So, that's our challenge this week. I don't know what's going to happen, where they're going to come from, but they've got really good players inside. I've got a lot of respect for their outside backers, of course, Judon and obviously 53, Van Noy. He's been a good player for years. Their inside guys, Hightower and Bennett, really solid, capable, good diagnosis. They come downhill, they fill the gaps and they build the wall. They're really solid. And they've gotten better up front. Dietrich Weiss is solid. I like his play. They're really good. The young rookie out of Alabama, he's playing hard. The nose tackles, 92 and 98, they're really good. That's always been kind of a staple, in that 3-4 system, is have the nose control that inside and control the center and the A gaps. And they do a really good job of it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Kay. Scott Petrick, we'll go to you.
Hey, Coach, I was wondering about this extensions for Wyatt and Joel. When you construct a line, do you say, hey, we need 5 elite guys? Or, because it feels like most lines, you kind of get by with somebody at one of the guard spots. Is it just an exception because these two guys are so special?
I don't know. I just think it's just it's one of those situations where both guys are here, and Joel's been a solid player for years, and he's elevated his game another notch, and Wyatt has elevated his game, and that's the market. That's the way it is. So I don't read too much into that. I do know when we were in Dallas, we paid for that line. We put a lot of resources into that line when we drafted, Tyron Smith, and then the next piece to that puzzle was getting the center in Frederick, and then the next piece was getting Martin. So that line kind of built its way, throughout the years. And I think, for any organization, that really, really likes to run the football and has that as a primary function of their offense, I think that's where the resources should go. Not only in the run game, not only is that important, but from a protection standpoint, that even becomes more vital. So I don't think you can ever put enough resources in your line. I've been fortunate enough to be around a lot of good guys, good lines, and organizations that really, they just value that aspect, of the offense, and everything starts up front anyhow. So, that makes total sense to me anyhow.
Yeah. You mentioned Wyatt, the pass protection. Have you seen Wyatt get a lot better in that area this year?
He's improving. He's improved his footwork. He's improved the anchor. His strikes are a little bit different. We've changed up his ability to use his hands. He's got really, really, really good length, and he plays with length, and he's using that as a strength now. But yeah, the more you play, the more you see things, and that's invaluable. So he has really come along in a lot of ways where he's seen the game. It's slowed down. He can anticipate a lot quicker and faster. He can see the moves, a little bit slower than what he did in the past. As it's slowed down in his mind. And of course, I think, Coach Peters has done a really good job with him, in that regard. Scott will work with the guards and pass protection and really, focus in, on the different types of sets that we're going to use versus the opponent. So his ability to transition weekly and change his sets, I think, is probably a credit to not only him, but also to Coach Peters and the work that we've put in with him.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Our next question is going to go to Nate Ulrich.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, Nate.
I just wanted to ask you this because it has been brought up by a couple of very noteworthy people, Joe Thomas and even Andrew Barry. Just putting out the idea that Joel Bitonio is having a career that is worthy, if he keeps it going, of consideration for the Hall of Fame, when it's all said and done. I'm just wondering if you've allowed your mind to go there at all with Joel.
I haven't, but I think that's a great goal to have. You've got to put a string of Pro Bowls and all pro stature years together. And he's certainly, on that path, and it's a matter of consistency and getting improved and again, performing at that high level year after year after year, like Joe has, that makes you that type of candidate. I've been fortunate enough to be around, a few guys like that that have done that. And, he's certainly right up in there. So I'm hopeful that all works out, but that's futuristic, and I would hate to speculate on that at this point in time. But yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm surely hopeful that he can reach that goal.
Thanks, Nate. We have time for one more. Zach Jackson.
Coach, just want to ask you about Wyatt in particular. 20 months ago, you had just met him, or maybe not even officially met him. You had seen him on film, obviously. What's your impression of him now? Where were you right about what you saw then, and where has he really improved in that time?
Yeah, so when he came to us, or I should say, when I came here, I saw a guy that had a lot of ability, had strength, power. He was a mauler type player. He would just basically engulf you and really try to muscle through a lot of different blocks. And I think the big thing is that he's refined his play. He's smarter about it. His leverage points are better. His ability to strike and adjust to different movements and also defenders has improved. So that's all in the library. And then, he didn't do a lot of pulling, when we first got here. He was basically more of a tight zone gap type player. And then we try to expand his range, and try to use his versatility. And he does have the ability to get on the perimeter and block. I think you saw last week, his ability to pull and trap in the hole, is as good as, I think, as any guard in the league. And so, if he continued to improve that, he's going to be pretty special. But he's made a lot of adjustments in his game, and to his credit, he's worked really, really hard, to modify his techniques, and to allow us to coach him into some new techniques that he's never been exposed to before.